The Grand Canyon, one of the Earth's 9 wonders, wonders of the world. Literally. Think of that. It's amazing.
This is my video update from Moscow, Russia, on this Thursday morning, August the 10th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with some quick news topics. The first one has to do with the fires in Maui, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the people in Hawaii and the people in Maui who are suffering from these horrific and devastating fires, which have claimed the lives of 6 people so far. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Hawaii. The second story I want to briefly touch upon is the assassination of a presidential candidate in Ecuador, Fernando Villavicencio, who was polling at 7.5% in the upcoming elections in Ecuador, was assassinated yesterday. And according to Ecuadorian officials, they are claiming that this was some sort of organized crime assassination on this presidential candidate. So a horrific assassination that took place in Ecuador of a presidential candidate. Many of the current presidential candidates in Ecuador have suspended their campaigns because of the assassination, pending a further investigation into what exactly happened. But our thoughts and prayers go out to the people of Ecuador and to the family of Fernando Villavicencio. So let's now move on to the big news story that broke via The Intercept yesterday, which was the U.S. documents claiming that the Biden White House and U.S. government officials, they put pressure on Pakistan to remove then former Prime Minister Imran Khan, and the pressure worked. The U.S. government officials, including U.S. diplomats, they told Pakistani government officials and military officials in various documents that have been obtained by The Intercept that they have to remove Imran Khan from power because of his neutral stance in the conflict in Ukraine. And they used a carrot and stick approach where they told the Pakistani officials that if they remove Imran Khan, then they will be rewarded with money and military training and weapons and stuff like that. And if they do not remove Imran Khan, then Pakistan would be isolated not only by the US, but also by the European Union. So a carrot and stick approach, really no different than the tactics that Biden used against Ukraine when he was vice president in the Obama administration. The famous video of Biden telling the Ukraine prosecutor, telling Poroshenko that if he doesn't fire the Ukraine prosecutor Shokin, then he wasn't going to receive the $1 billion in aid. And son of a gun, he fired the prosecutor, according to Biden, in that now infamous video from when Biden was speaking at the Foreign Council or the Foreign Policy think tank event. So that is the big news from Pakistan. And, after these warnings were made, after this carrot and stick approach was was delivered to Pakistani officials, they removed Khan. They removed him. And last week he was charged with various crimes, which actually now will prevent him from trying to run for prime minister. So he faces 3 years in prison and all kinds of legal challenges, but they're basically removing him from the political scene with these allegations of crimes. So all of this was because Imran Khan decided to take a neutral stance when it came to the conflict in Ukraine. And actually, the documents, they reveal that Pakistani officials, they were telling the U.S. diplomats that Imran Khan's neutral stance with regard to Russia and Ukraine was not only his belief. It wasn't only his policy. It was a policy that was widely adopted throughout the government in Pakistan, as well as the people in Pakistan. They actually preferred that the country remain neutral. I mean, this was a mandate from the people to the government, and it was a policy. This policy of neutrality was widely adopted by most government officials, but the U.S. diplomats, they were hearing none of it. They told the Pakistani officials, we don't care. This is the guy that we need to remove. He's the roadblock between us and getting Pakistan to side with the collective West and to start sanctioning Russia. And sure enough, when Khan was removed, Pakistan started to deliver all kinds of money and weapons and training and military aid and whatever to Ukraine. They started to deliver all kinds of stuff to Ukraine. So it worked. The threat, the warnings, they absolutely worked. And yeah, that's where we are with what is going on in Pakistan. So now we understand why the government officials in Pakistan had it in for Imran Khan. It wasn't really so much about Imran Khan. It was about the fear of facing isolation and God knows what else from the United States and from the EU. It's very interesting that the U.S. diplomats said the EU will do whatever we tell them to do. So if we isolate you, Pakistan, the EU is going to do the same. So very interesting revelations. This is how the Biden White House operates. This is a tactic that the Biden White House, uses over and over again, this carrot and stick approach. It's the same tactic that they wanted to use at the Saudi Arabia Jeddah summit last week. They wanted to push the Zelensky peace formula onto the global South countries in attendance in Saudi Arabia, and that was the original plan until China decided to join the conference. At first, China wasn't going to attend the conference. Then China decided to send a delegation, and they spoiled the U.S.'s plan in Saudi Arabia. But that's what they were going to do. They were going to approach the global South. I actually think I said this in a video, that the U.S. was going to use a carrot and stick approach at the Saudi summit. They were going to take the countries, pull them aside that were in attendance in Saudi Arabia, and tell them, if you join us and sanction Russia and turn against Russia, we'll give you this. If you don't, and you oppose us, well then, we will do this to you. And then China came along, and that was it. The global South had a different option. They didn't have to play ball with the United States, which shows how important it is to have options. This is the big problem. The king, Mr. Elvis, Maryland. The Beverly Hills Diner right here. It's a good diner, actually. I've eaten here before. It's good burgers. So, yeah, that's why it's so important to have options. That's why a multipolar world is so important, because when the US comes along and it threatens you, you have choices. You could say, you know what, Blinken, Newland, Sullivan, you're telling me that I have to sanction Russia or else? Well, I can just turn to China for financing, for infrastructure help, for whatever. I can turn to Russia and China, to BRICS, for financing and for military assistance, or to purchase military equipment, or whatever the U.S. offers countries. China, Russia, Brazil, India, BRICS, South Africa. This organization can match whatever the U.S. offers countries when they take this carrot and stick approach. So look, that was big news. It's big news for Pakistan. It's big news for Imran Khan, and the case for Imran Khan to be released and to be allowed to run. After all, the United States talks to us about democracy, right? Well, they meddled, they intervened in a democracy and removed the leader, and are now preventing the most popular candidate for prime minister from running in the next election. They are actually, the United States, the Biden White House, that talks about democracy all the time, is actually preventing the democratic process in Pakistan. They're meddling in it, and they're preventing it from taking place with what they've done, or what they've pushed Pakistani officials to do to Imran Khan. So, from Imran Khan, we can move over to Ukraine. Oh, by the way, Julian Assange, he interviewed Imran Khan in 2012. And even in 2012, Khan was talking about how the US constantly pressures him to take certain positions in foreign policy. And that was back in 2012. So now we understand why they have imprisoned Julian Assange, because Assange was reporting the truth, not only about Afghanistan, not only about what was going on in the US elections and Hillary Clinton, but he was also reporting the truth about US pressure on Pakistan. So, Ukraine, and CNN had a post with the title, "We expected less resistance. Ukrainian troops on southern front learn not to underestimate their enemy." The US, the EU, Ukraine, they really bought into the propaganda that once they got this big counteroffensive underway, the Russian military would run away. That's what they thought. They really believed the siege of Kiev, Ghost of Kiev, Snake Island, Kherson, counteroffensive, the Great Kharkiv counteroffensive. They really bought into all of that. I mean, they really, really internalized the propaganda, and they actually believed that once they got rolling in this big spring, winter, fall, winter, summer, autumn counteroffensive, that Russia would simply drop their weapons and retreat. And don't believe the lies that they're telling us right now. The mainstream media, Austin, Kirby, who else? Blinken, Ukraine generals, the ghost of Zaluzhny, the AI android known as Budanov. Don't believe any of their nonsense where they claim that the counteroffensive is going to be a slow grind, and it's going to be a marathon, and it's going to take time. 3 months ago, they were telling us that, look at all these pigeons. Wow. They were telling us that the counteroffensive was going to be 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days to get to the Sea of Azov. And by the summer, Budanov and Zelensky and Zaluzhny and Danilov and Podolyak, they would all be swimming naked in Crimea, right? That's what they told us. Fishing in Crimea. That was the narrative that they were telling us. And they were certain of it. It was guaranteed. Take it to the bank. This is what's going to happen. So the whole narrative shift of it's a marathon and we're going to grind the Russian military down and it's going to take time is nonsense. It's a big, fat lie. It was 3 to 5 days. Russians would drop their weapons. That would be it. We would have Crimea, Putin government collapses, and that's the end of the conflict. What's actually happening right now in Ukraine is that Russia is advancing in the Kharkiv region, and there is reliable reporting that the Ukraine military is in retreat as Russia advances in the northern front in Kupiansk. And the collective West media, they are not reporting any of this. Meanwhile, in Zaporozhye and Kherson, we have what the collective West media likes to call a stalemate, which is in reality the Ukraine military losing men and material and resources and vehicles, tanks, equipment. They're losing it in Kherson and Zaporozhye in the southern direction while making little to zero progress. They haven't even reached the first lines of defense. And the first lines of Russian defense is when the real fighting begins. Think about that. Ukraine has lost, 43,000, 45,000 soldiers in the fighting in this gray zone area, in this security zone. And they still haven't reached the first line of defense, which is when they're going to really face stiff, heavy Russian resistance. So 53 settlements in the Kharkov region are being evacuated. That is the news that is coming out from Ukraine, which means that, I imagine, it means that sometime in the near future, the Russian military will begin to take over this area, this region in Kharkov, this Kharkov northern region towards Kupiansk. If the Ukraine settlements are being abandoned, it means that that the Russian forces are going to be moving in very soon. At least that's how I take it. So another thing we can expect because of the Russian advance in the north and Ukraine's stalemate, as the collective West media calls it, as they like to brand it, the stalemate. Because all this is happening, I expect the Zelensky regime, NATO, and the collective West to put together some interesting distractions to take away from the collapse in the north. And I remember, this is the area of the great Kharkov counteroffensive that Ukraine is about to lose. So all of the hype about the great Kharkov counteroffensive, an offensive which the collective West based the big summer counteroffensive on, the gains made in Kharkov was what the collective West based the strategy of the big counteroffensive on. We're going to make a quick sprint to Azov because Russia's going to retreat as they did in Kharkov. Ukraine is now about to lose all of this territory. That's what's about to take place. At least that's how I'm reading into this. So we'll monitor what's going on in the Kupiansk direction in the north of Kharkov. But one thing I think we all need to prepare for is some big time distractions from NATO, from the collective West, and from the Zelensky regime, so that people aren't made aware of what's about to happen in the Kharkov area. Another thing that is happening in Ukraine, and this is some very troubling, horrific news, is that the Zelensky regime, which way should we walk? Let's walk that way. Let's walk that way. Some other news that we're getting is that the Zelensky regime is going to restrict the travel of teenagers between 16 and 18 years old. Now, I really hope that this is not what I think it is, but if they are restricting the travel of 16 and 18-year-olds from leaving Ukraine, I can only think that this is about some sort of mobilization of teenagers. If this is what this travel restriction is about, well, then this is absolutely horrific news coming out of Ukraine. Once again, those Zelensky human rights, democratic values that the EU and the US and all the collective West like to talk about. This is the government that they're propping up and that they're funding with billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, that are placing travel restrictions on their teenagers. All right, since we're talking about the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that have gone to the Zelensky regime, let's discuss now the other big story of the day, which is more Biden family corruption allegations. And this is the title from Zero Hedge. House Republicans release bank records showing over $20 million in payments to Biden family associates. Republicans on the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday revealed over $20 million in payments they claim foreign actors from places like Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan sent the Biden family and their associates while Joe Biden was vice president. Now, in these claims, we have millions of dollars being sent to Rosemont Seneca, to Hunter Biden and his associates from the former Moscow mayor turned billionaire, I think living in London now, Yelena Baturina. I talked about this from a video in St. Petersburg a week ago, and here it is now in the news headlines. And she sent like 3 or 4 million to an account connected with Hunter Biden and Devin Archer, and then that account sent the money to another account, and allegedly it made its way to the Biden family, and Baturina was actually left off the Russian Biden US sanctions list. Isn't that convenient? So it talks about that. It talks about how this Kazakhstan oligarch allegedly sent Hunter Biden $145,000 or $142,000 so that Hunter can buy a Porsche or Porsche, Porsche. And I'm reminded of the Friends episode where this is completely random, but it just came to mind where Joey was walking in the streets of New York and he saw a Porsche and some girl asked him if that was his car, and he was like, "Yeah, that's my car." And he started to hook up with all these girls because he was claiming that this Porsche that was parked on the street was his, and Joey was going on and on about it's a Porsche, it's a Porsche or a Porsche. Anyway, that's completely random, man. I don't know how that got into my head. Anyway, yeah, he was given $142,000 from allegedly, I have to say allegedly, from this Kazakhstan oligarch, and it was for Hunter to buy a Porsche. And from what I understand, what the documents show is that the next day, Hunter went out and he bought A Porsche. one sec. Oof. Dust. Yeah, and he bought a Porsche with that $142,000 or a Porsche. Oh man. And then we have more millions of dollars being sent from these Kazakhstan oligarchs and Ukraine oligarchs and Burisma to an account that that Rosemont Seneca had, which then they sent to another account that Rosemont Seneca had, which then went to the accounts of like the Hunter family and those associated with the Biden family and those associated with the Biden family. These are the allegations from these documents, and there you have it. And you have the Democrats now. Their narrative is, you know, there's nothing that connects this money to Joe Biden. There's nothing. What does the president have to do with any of this? That's the Democrats. Oh boy. Yeah, what does Joe Biden have to do with any of this stuff? Nothing. Nothing connects all these payments to Biden. Nothing. Except the money going into the family accounts. Allegedly going into the family accounts. And the phone calls with Hunter Biden as he was doing business. And the lunches with Baturina in DC. Nothing else connects this stuff to Biden. Or the fact that he was on video saying that he would withhold the $1 billion in aid to Ukraine if they didn't fire Shokin. But outside of that, nothing connects this stuff to Biden. Nothing. And Trump was impeached for what? A phone call with Zelensky? Crazy stuff, man. Absolutely crazy stuff. But look, it's all crazy, but look, the truth of the matter is that Hunter Biden deserved all of this money. He deserved every dollar, every cent, every penny of it, because Hunter Biden is a Renaissance man. He's our modern day Leonardo da Vinci. He is a Renaissance man. He's an artist. He's an artist who sells paintings for $500,000. He's an author, a best-selling author. He's a real estate investment genius. He's an energy expert. He's an expert in energy and gas and oil. What else? He's a venture capitalist. He's an award-winning investor and venture capitalist, a hedge fund manager, a political strategist. You know, the guy is a treasure, and all of this money is it's actually not enough. If you want my opinion, I think that we should make sure that Hunter gets more and more money, because you know it's once in a generation do we get to witness this type of artistic business culture genius in our presence. And let's get to our clown world, since we're on the topic of Hunter. And we have the Coke story that has resurfaced, the Coke White House story that has resurfaced again, with the New York Post running an article. White House cocaine may have belonged to someone in Biden family orbits, according to a report. So it wasn't a tourist, it wasn't a White House visitor that happened to have left the Coke in the White House. It was actually someone that President Biden knew. It was someone close in his orbit. Who could it be? Who could have brought the cocaine into the White House? I don't know. I have no idea who it could have been. Maybe Hunter. Maybe someone else in the Biden family. I don't know. Maybe Biden himself. I don't know. I'm just throwing names out there. Who could it have been that brought this coke into the White House? Maybe Secret Service. I don't know. I have no clue. Maybe Zelensky. Maybe when Zelensky was visiting the White House, he kind of stashed away some coke in a hidden place, and it just kind of stayed there. I don't know. Can you say that Zelensky is in Biden's orbit? I think we can. We can say that Zelensky is part of Biden's family orbit. Anyway, let's do one more clown world, a quick clown world. So remember the story from yesterday about the Russian flags in Niger, and you had the State Department spokesman. He said, I can't imagine why people in Niger would actually carry Russian flags. Well, Reuters is actually running an article with the title, Niger's tailors rushed to make Russian flags after coup. Niger tailors rushed to sew Russian flags after the coup. In Africa, there was an increased demand for the Russian tricolor. Flags have been in demand since the overthrow of President Mohamed Bazoum. I am a fan of the Russian flag, so today I came to buy fabrics so that a tailor can sew a flag for me, said Abdul Aziz, a resident of Miami, who participated in demonstrations by supporters of the junta. So yeah, that explains the Russian flag mystery. All right, everybody, I am going to sign out. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, and Telegram, and go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code. Good day. Take care.